What is going on there, Reject Nation? Greg and John here today. I'm looking forward to doing this video very much so. So much so that I think we would all agree that it would behoove you to leave a like if you can. Guys, Sam Raimi, with his Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness movie coming out, he is now talking about what he would want first before agreeing to go forward with a Spider-Man 4. Yes, years ago, he wanted to do Spider-Man 4, but ultimately left the project, and he said that it would be these same demands that he would want to make sure are fulfilled before agreeing to do it. And I think he even talked recently about how with the multiverse being open, it has definitely opened up his own mind, being willing to go ahead and maybe give it another shot. I wanted to go through these 4 specific questions that he has. Will the story fulfill these 4 questions? So what I wanted to do to make this a little bit more fun, we'll go through the 4 questions one at a time. Then I'll kind of give my little pitch of what I think would be good for Spider-Man 4, because I don't think he should be doing what he originally had planned, especially because of the fact that it's been many years and the fact that Tobey Maguire was just in Spider-Man No Way Home, but you know, something akin to what he was probably hoping for down the road. You ready for this?
I'm so ready for this.
You're ready for this, and then you guys can vote in the comments. Which one did you like more? Now, it is a competition. All right, guys, so the first question here is, does Tobey Maguire want to do it? I'm going to say no.
Absolutely not.
That's an easy one. Does Tobey Maguire want to do it? That's the first thing he presents. Tobey Maguire himself has already stated the door's not closed and that there's more stories that could be told. I think Tobey Maguire would, of course, be into it if Sam Raimi specifically wanted to return to direct it as well. So now let's go through the fun stuff. 2, is there an emotional arc for him? I was thinking, what could the arc for him be, especially post No Way Home? With Tobey's version in No Way Home, he's obviously the older one, and in a lot of ways they play to that as him being a little bit more of the wiser one amongst the 3 of them. And I feel like that would have an effect on him when returning to his own home world, encountering the situations with Tom Holland and Zendaya, seeing what happened with Andrew Garfield, and they left the door a little bit open and mysterious as to what happened between him and Mary Jane on his world. I think the emotional arc for him would be him contemplating whether or not he should hang up the suit, and maybe there is an opportunity for someone else to actually take up the mantle for being the hero, especially after going to another world where other heroes do exist, and seeing someone like Andrew Garfield who didn't get a chance to be with his loved one, that maybe he should be giving this all up. He's much older now, and maybe he should reevaluate his situation here. This is going to be so many years. I don't know if we get another trilogy out of this, but there's also get another chance to get old man Spider-Man in this one. So there's question 3 and 4, and I'm gonna just put them both in one category here. Is there a great conflict? And is there a great villain? Now for me, I think that the villain, and he said that he wanted to do this, but the one that sprang to mind for me would be Kraven the Hunter. And the reason why I think Kraven the Hunter would be a great fit is because he could feed into his emotional conflict specifically. Kraven the Hunter, depending on the interpretation, but you know, the one that I grew up on was one who was just a big fan of the sport, a big fan of hunting,
of the most dangerous game.
What would feed more into his conflict of if he should give up the suit or not would be a man who comes to New York City specifically wreaking havoc in the city because he's after Spider-Man. A lot of the times these villains have their own motives. They're doing their thing, and then Spider-Man interferes, and it's like, Spider-Man is getting in the way of my plans. But what if the plan of a villain showing up and causing chaos is because of Spider-Man specifically, which would add more to, is what I'm doing actually right? To bring someone who's not even from New York all the way to New York just to try to kill me, you know, and it's getting others harmed in the way as well. That's what I mean. You have a physical conflict, and then you have an internal conflict that he has to deal with, and the problem is choice by the end of the movie. You know, can he find someone else to be a hero for the city? Because on his world, there's no other heroes that he knows of. Can he train someone? Can you duplicate the radioactive spider? Like, what can you do here? Would you introduce a Miles Morales played by Finn Wolfhard? No.
Oh, that's the way to go. Yes, sir. Or Or Timothy Chalamet. Just throw him in there. Whitewash him. That's what we want. Oh, can you imagine what people would say online?
How's that sounding?
That sounds so good that I can only just add on top of it because I'm not going to have a better idea than you.
So yeah, that's my basic idea that I think he could do. Like, obviously we need an outline and the meat and bones and stuff. But yeah, that's what sprang to mind when I read those questions.
See, that's a great take on what a Spider-Man 4 could be. I feel like you're onto something really good. But see, here's the thing I thought about. We're getting a Kraven the Hunter movie, and Sony probably not going to want to dilute the waters by having 2 spider-centric Kraven movies trying to establish one, unless you cross Aaron Taylor Johnson over with Tobey Maguire, but I feel like that might get a little bit distracting. So my version...
It's a multiverse, John.
I know, but Sony, I think, really wants to get their side multiverse that will not probably hinge on Tobey Maguire off the ground first. As much as I want to just be like, hey, multiverse, I gotta have a different answer, so where's the fun in that? I think that in the pursuit, because yeah, I want to see Tobey's Peter, in that more mature place, also appreciating the connections, the bonds that he have after witnessing what Tom Holland had to give up, what Andrew Garfield wasn't able to hold on to that Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is. In that pursuit of finding a replacement, things go horribly awry and give birth to the Man-Spider. And then Peter Parker is forced to look at a perverted version of himself, an inverted and traumatized version of himself. But within that, there is a road to the way forward and to reclamation, because we can have a sensitive monster movie, which Sam Raimi is also good at, showing that the Man-Spider is just a victim of circumstance and classic Spider-Man theme, science gone awry, but not the same kind of like, a doctor mentor kind of dynamic. It would be something fresh, and that way you could really prioritize, their relationship with Mary Jane, his family, what he wants to protect, but also having to write this last scientific debacle before moving on to eventually fighting Kraven in the better movie that you wrote.
Actually, I think in a lot of ways what you have is better. I mean, you incorporated the science, which is something that movie lost sight of, that franchise.
It's true. There's scientists involved, but really Peter's interest in science feels the most plugged in No Way Home.
You incorporated a bit more of that Sam Raimi whimsy horror.
A Man-Spider would
Mine
be very...
sounds more like a dark psychological Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, which I also want to see. And then mine would be like Spider-Man meets Evil Dead the Fly body horror.
Which is more of a you pitched an actual Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, and I pitched like a existential, which I guess Spider-Man 2 is.
This is a great thing to vote on, though, because both movies would be exciting. Because one would force Sam Raimi to stretch his legs to further places we're not as used to seeing. Bring some of those English patient vibes in.
I'm bringing it more to like Spider-Man 2 vibes.
Yeah. And, mine is a little bit more like, hey, let's just let Sam Raimi do his thing.
Yeah.
So what do you want,
Well, guys, tell us down below. By the way, great pitch energy.
Thank you.
I was really calm in mine. I'm thinking of a great pitch energy to that.
I've just been watching so many Ryan George videos. Gotta get that energy.
All right, guys, vote.